So I'm just gonna share my screen real fast. We can get started on this. Cool. Let me just get this in percent. Okay. Can everybody see it? You guys can see it, right? Okay, cool. So this is my Odyssey. I did a fashion design inspired Odyssey, and I'm gonna obviously get into that in a second. Just a bit about what you guys are going to be seeing today. I'm going to go into the background of my Odyssey, then we're going to do a little bit about what I did before my Odyssey, a little bit about COVID and how that affected my Odyssey, and then I'm going to go into each of my 8 art history periods. For those periods, you're going to see a slide that has my inspiration picture, inspiration piece that I used for that period, and then a background slide about some of the work that I did, and then the final product, which is me in the clothes looking like a nerd. It's gonna be great. I'm really excited. So anyway, starting with my Odyssey, this is just a general slide. There's a picture from all the pieces that I did, just so you guys get an overview of what I did for the Odyssey. I decided to do an Odyssey that was based on fashion design because obviously that's what I'm going into next year. And I also am really passionate about art history because I took an art history course this year and I got really into it. So when the opportunity arose for me to get this thing called an Ohio Art Honors Diploma, I thought, why not tie everything together and just do a whole thing of everything? So I tied it into my Odyssey, I tied it into art history, and I tied it into fashion. So these are pieces inspired by different art history periods that I drew from kind of some experiential work that I did that was also for the diploma. So I had to do experience and I had to do a portfolio, and this is the portfolio portion that I'm showing you guys right now. Of course, there's some things that are a little bit different than the Odyssey that I had to include that you might be like, why did you throw that in there? It's because it's for the portfolio portion for the diploma. So anyway, so pre-Odyssey, I did some volunteer work at the Museum of Art. Some of you might have heard me complaining about it because it was really fun, but it was also really boring because I just stood there for 2 hours and talked to people about art. And like, that's fun, but also sometimes there was no people and I just had to sit there with my thoughts, and no one wants to do that. So it was a fun time. I really liked it. My mentor at the time was my boss, supervisor lady, and she was really awesome. She taught me a lot about how to talk about art and a lot of how to like teach people about art and get people engaged. I learned a lot about the art that we have at the museum and how to like direct people towards art that might interest them the most. So that was really cool and interesting. And that was the experience part of my diploma. The art history course, I took AP Art History, which was an awesome course. I had an amazing teacher. I took it online through some school in Florida. It was a really fun time. I learned, like, literally went from learning just like basic things about art history, like the things that everybody knows, the things things that everybody would know from going to a museum a couple times in their life, to knowing way more than I could have ever thought I would know. And it was really, really awesome in developing my love for art history. So COVID obviously changed my Odyssey in ways that I could not have imagined. But honestly, I honestly think that it helped my Odyssey, which is something that I'm not sure everybody can say. So I'm very fortunate for that. I had to find a new mentor, obviously, because my art museum lady went like MIA. Like, I could not talk to her. She was not replying to my emails. It was a whole shebang. We love that. And so I decided to contact my babysitter from my childhood, who went to the University of Cincinnati and now works at Abercrombie and Fitch. I modeled in her fashion shows. She's super cool. I love her. So she became my mentor, and she was really helpful because she actually had like a personal connection to fashion because she was a fashion designer and she knew how to like advise me and all that kind of stuff. So during quarantine, I decided that I was going to spend as much time as possible on this Odyssey, like just throw myself into it and just see where it took me. And it was amazing. Some days I worked more than like 8 hours. I would sit down and I wouldn't eat and I would just sew all day, and it was amazing. And it was a really great experience getting to know like how to work on my own and be inspired by myself and not have anybody there watching me or forcing me. I was just able to just get in and do it. It was really nice. The only bad thing about this whole COVID experience was the fact that I wasn't able to use my models, which was something that I was leaning heavily on because I was planning on making the outfits to the models' measurements. And at the time, I was still convinced that by the end of all this, I would have models to use and that I would be able to fit them. But of course, that didn't work out. So it's me, which is really fun. But I managed to. It presented like a challenge, but it also presented an opportunity because I was able to look at the clothes that I had made and try them on and like figure out like, how do I make this fit? Like, how do I make this work? Where do I put this dart? Where do I take this in? stuff like that. And it was a lot of like customizing those pieces to fit me, and that was a really fun experience because I got like way more personal in like what these clothes meant to me. I am keeping some of them. Some of my models are not getting their clothes, and I made the pants, so I get to call the shots. So it's really fun. So this is the Renaissance. This is the first art period that I did. Binny, here, she's gonna be with us. This is The Birth of Venus by Botticelli. A lot of people know this art history piece. For each art history period, I chose a singular piece that I thought, for me, really exemplified the period. And so I'm going to show those, and then we're going to get into some details. So the Renaissance, everybody kind of knows what the Renaissance is. I'm not going to go super deep into the characteristics of each because I want to mainly focus on my actual sewing that I did. But general, like, focus on science and art, big societal changes, and a lot of inspiration from classical Greece. So I wanted to focus on the traditional kind of chemise, which is the Renaissance is like nightgown. Binny, you need to get out of here. Go away. It's the Renaissance's nightgown. So I thought it was really easy, something simple to do that also really exemplified the art history period, and also I think kind of harkened back to that piece, the Botticelli's Venus, that I used, because they all seem to be wearing kind of relaxed clothing. So I used a traditional chemise draping technique. So a chemise is basically just rectangles of fabric, because at the time they didn't have a lot of very formal sewing techniques. So I cut the pieces out. I did a lot of draping, which is just where you throw something on the dress form and you hope it looks nice, and you just kind of cut and trim while it's on the dress form. If I can say one thing about myself, it's that I'm a very good draper. So this was something that kind of came naturally to me. I then used a ribbon to create kind of a cinched waist and neckline because I didn't want it to just look like a smock. So I used a fold over technique to make sure that I only had to sew that once. So I would just fold a loop of fabric over, slide the ribbon through it, and then just sew along the base. So it was a very simple process. This one was also, I have my notes and my sketches, thank you for leaving, and my swatches over to the right. There is a space you'll see for the measurements. Obviously they're not there because I asked my models to text me their measurements, and it was like so complicated to get people to take their own measurements. So this is the final product. One of the things I really liked about this outfit was that I felt like it was both similar to the time period, but also very modern. I liked being able to implement my own style into these pieces. So it was obviously shorter. I did the sleeves a little different. I wore it off the shoulder instead of up on the shoulder because I thought it was just a little bit more, it seemed like a little bit more something I would do. I do a lot of off the shoulder work, and I really enjoy doing off the shoulder work. So yeah, that's the Renaissance.
I hate to interrupt, but it's really, really hard to see the full slide, so we only got to see one picture on the last slide.
Is anybody else
like zoomed in all the way?
No, I was seeing the full slide.
Yeah, I was seeing the full thing. That's just you, Tori.
It's just you, yeah.
Okay.
Well, Tori, I'm more than happy to try like stopping and starting again, so that maybe that.
Go ahead, do it real quickly.
Okay.
And then keep going.
Cool.
Thank you for speaking up, Tori.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So I'm just gonna keep going. If you need anything, I'm sorry, Tori.
That's better. Thank you.
Okay. Cool. So Rococo is something that I want to talk about a little bit more because it's something that I feel like not a lot of people know about. Rococo, just what I think of when I think Rococo is like, okay, there's going to the next slide, is like, think like pre-French Revolution France, like Marie Antoinette, all that extravagance, all that pastel, all that gold, all that luxury. That was a lot of what Rococo was. It was the art that kind of accompanied the lifestyle of pre-French Revolution France. So for this one, it was the only one that I actually used a store-bought pattern for, because let's just be honest, I don't know how to make a Rococo dress. I don't think a lot of people do. So it was a lot of like, it was a lot of self challenging because I don't really like using store-bought patterns. I prefer to make my own or use draping. So it was a really cool experience, and it was really fun to kind of take that store-bought pattern and then turn it into something of my own after. And so I used a lot of hand sewing of the decorations. I did a lot of my own stuff, so it felt like something that I had bought, but also something that I had customized, so that was cool. So this is the final product. I really liked how I was able to translate some of the Rococo style themes, the gathering in the back, the gathering around the waist, those like layered sleeves, all that kind of stuff is very traditional Rococo. So I was able to kind of translate that, and I also it was my first experience working with historical dress. So I thought that was really cool because I was able to look at the history and directly translate that into the dress. I wasn't kind of using a vague Annabel translation. I was using a very direct translation with also some of my own tweaks. So that was very fun. Realism is my next. This is The Desperate Man by Courbet. It's a really great piece. I love realism because for me it was kind of the first art history period where art was considered for everybody. It was realistic portrayals of real people, and art was available for everyone because it was cheaper and it was more widely produced. So a lot of people were able to get into art where they hadn't before. So for this one, since it was focused on the real people in the natural world, I wanted to use very natural fabrics. Everything's linen, everything's nice. I did a custom pattern shirt. So custom patterns, just so I don't have to go into this again, is where basically I would take measurements and I would take the vague shape of a pant, and I would take the measurements and I would adjust the vague shape of a pant to fit those measurements. So it was a lot of like drawing lines with rulers and making sure everything was like perfect and symmetrical, and it was a lot of work, but I really enjoyed making my own patterns because for me it felt like draping but 2D draping. So I was able to kind of add my own. It was easy for me to translate physical pant shape that I could see on the dress form to paper. That was like a translation I needed to get down for college, so that was really cool to get that. It was so the pants are the same way. I custom made the pant patterns. The buttons are hand sewn. Some of them are wood. Some of them are plastic. So this is the final result. I really like making pants because I think like it's something that a lot of people can't do, and a lot of people think are sincerely difficult. And I thought it was really difficult, and now I kind of have it down because I made 2 pairs and I really enjoyed that. And they have pockets and belt loops, and I was really happy with myself for making pockets. So it was really, really cool to get to make these because I felt like I both got to make something that I feel like is kind of modern and kind of me, but also kind of harkens back to that art history period. So that was really fun. Impressionism. This is Impressionist Sunrise by Monet. It's very Monet, very focused on light and colors and vague shapes and capturing scenes of everyday life. This was the first dress I made, so it has a lot of technical difficulties, and more than the other pieces. It has a circle skirt, which is just a skirt. You just fold a piece of fabric up, cut a circle, and then it looks like a circle. And it's very easy, flowy skirt to make. I hand draped the bodice, so I just threw some fabric up on the dress form and cut it till it looked okay. And then I pattern cut the sleeves. And then I hand sew my zippers because my zipper foot's broken and I don't have time to buy a new zipper foot because Amazon hates me. So I hand sewed my zippers in there. That was really fun. This is how it turned out. I'm really pleased with it, even though it was technically probably the least of the worst of all of them. Obviously, you know, I learned so much from the beginning to the end of this project. But I'm still really proud of it, and I still really like how it looks. Post-Impressionism, this is, you know, Vincent van Gogh, people really period. It was a period that I had a lot of trouble understanding, and I'll go into that on the next slide, but my inspiration was The Starry Night by Van Gogh. So Impressionism, or Post-Impressionism is really difficult because it isn't actually a distinct art period. It's kind of more of a rebellion against Impressionism. So Impressionism used a lot of light, color, you know, the subject matter, everything. The Post-Impressionists were like, we want to do something completely different. We're going to do this instead. So I wanted to be inspired by the art history period and use a lot more like tough, like workwear kind of fabric. So I used corduroy and linen, and I know that's cut off on the swatch, but I used like a dark blue cotton thick coating fabric. Obviously I would have wanted to use kind of a more traditional coating fabric, but it was the all I could get, and let's just be honest, Joann's was being plucked dry by like 40-year-old women trying to make quilts over quarantine. I'm sorry, Sutton, you look really offended, but y'all stole all my fabric, so I'm mad. So I self-made the pants pattern. I draped the shirt. The shirt actually is the one thing that I could not fit into. It was way too small for me. I don't even know if it's going to fit my model. I was very disappointed at that shirt. So the yellow shirt, I wore a black tank top of mine instead because I was like, I don't own any white and I don't want to use a color, so we're going with black. And then the jacket, I used a self-made pattern. This was really tricky for me because a jacket was something I had never really delved into before. I'd always made my own jackets on the dress form, which always kind of end up looking the same. They always end up looking like cropped, crazy, weird jackets, which you'll see in Surrealism because I draped that myself. But it was a really cool experience to get into different jacket silhouettes and play with that. So this is the final product. I really liked how everything turned out. The jacket I purposefully made look kind of unfinished because I wanted to go back to that kind of workwear kind of aspect. I wanted to make it look a little rough. I feel like I look like a hobbit. I was vibing with that strongly. It was really fun. So Hobbit Annabel goes on a walk in her garden because that's the only space I had to use. It's all in my backyard, so y'all know what my backyard
5
looks like.
minutes.
So that was really cool. I really liked this piece. The pants, very neat. I kind of was able to incorporate my own design into some of these later periods. I like the way that the pants hit. I like the length of the pants. That's kind of something that I kind of use in my own designs a lot when it comes to like drawing and sketching. That's a really common silhouette for me. So that's cool to be able to implement that. Surrealism is another art history period. I love Dali. This is The Persistence of Memory by Dali. A lot of people, I feel like, don't really have as much appreciation for surrealism, but it's one of my favorite art history periods. It's just all about that juxtaposition of unique and different imagery, lots of hidden messages. It was really cool. So for surrealism, I used light blue suede and a camel coating fabric because I actually could find some coating fabric, and I was very happy at that. This was the second piece I made, and the skirt is circle cut, similar to the first piece I made. I hand draped the bodice. You'll see there's a lot of pins, darts in that from when I fitted it to myself because I have a lot of different measurements than my model. The jacket's hand draped, the sleeves are pattern cut, and the invisibles, which was so much effort. It's so much effort to cut normal sleeves, but these sleeves reached the ground and it was so hard and I hated it. But it looks good, I think. I couldn't fit into the jacket because I have man shoulders. It's just a personal sizing issue with the jacket. So I basically took pictures with the jacket draped around my shoulders. So I'm really proud of the jacket. I'm really excited to see it on the model. And I'm really sad that I couldn't fit into it, but I hope you guys get the impression that I was going for. This is the final result. I was really happy with it. I liked how the jacket looked draped because I felt like I could play with the sleeves and use them rather than like flop around uselessly like one of those like blowy men at a car dealership. So it was really fun and I really liked this piece. Honestly, I might steal the dress because I really liked the dress. So this was kind of more about how do I twist the idea of a jacket to make it surreal. How do I take this traditional silhouette that a lot of people know and how do I make it surreal? And I felt like I did that with the extension of the sleeves. So yeah, abstract expressionism was kind of this Jackson Pollock, obviously. So it was a distinctly American style. I originally wanted to replicate kind of a 60s wife dress, but eventually when I draped the black out to drape that, I really liked how it laid just as kind of like a square tunic-y kind of dress, so I stuck with that. Basically what I did is I draped the dress, cut a triangle out the back, made it white, and then splatter painted it in my room, and got my floor covered in paint, cleaned it up, was happy with the results. So I kind of tried to make it look as much Jackson Pollock as I could, but I really don't know. I feel like I achieved it, but I guess you guys can have your own opinions. So this is the dress. I really enjoyed this dress. I enjoyed kind of how tunic-y it was. I felt very comfy. I did not want to get out of this dress when I got into it. I just kind of sat around in it for a little bit. It was really fun. So this was a cool dress. Not the easiest to photograph because of the colors and everything and the weather. But it was really fun. It was really fun to wear. So this is my last one. This is pop art. So the inspiration piece is the Maryland Diptych by Andy Warhol, one of my favorite pieces. So I wanted to create that juxtaposition of color. So basically it's a half black, half multicolored jumpsuit, and then the other side flips. So where it's like it's black and colored, and then it's colored and black. So they kind of flip because I wanted to add that dimension. So pop art, I'm assuming it's a very common art. It's kind of the most recent of these art history periods. It's a big commentary on American life and consumerism and like sexuality in the Americas, and it's a really cool period. Lots of familiar objects sized up, like giant lipstick tubes and stuff like that. Lots of bright and distinct colors. So I chose obviously those two juxtapositions of colors to match the diptych's juxtaposition. I drafted my own pants. And then my mentor told me that what I should do is create a bodice, create like a draped bodice. And so I put like cotton on the dress form and I made it look like a bodice, and I took the cotton off and I put it on the paper and I traced it on the paper, and then I attached the new pattern I had made for the bodice onto the pants. So it became one long pants pattern so that I could have a continuous jumpsuit. And that was one of my big challenges because like it obviously would have been way easier to like make the pants than make the top and connect them. But I really liked how I like kind of pushed myself a little bit more on this and tried to make it one big jumpsuit. So here is this. I really liked it. I really liked modeling it because it was my last one and I climbed in a tree and that was really fun. So this was something that was really interesting because it was really hard to fit to me because I made it big so I could fit it to my model because I had no idea how to fit a jumpsuit, and then it was just way too big, and I had to go back and like adjust a bunch of little things, and it was a whole shebang. But yeah, it was a really, really awesome thing to model and a thing to make, and I'm really proud of this. And it honestly is one of my favorites. But Joy can have it because I love her too much to take her outfit away from her.
Less than a minute to finish, please.
Well, I think I'm done. So, doesn't that work out nice? Yay. Can I stop screen sharing? Or do I have to keep screen sharing?
You can stop if you like. You can always share again if you need to refer to it for questions.
I like looking at your beautiful faces. Okay, there's hands. Tori, what you got?
Okay, I really liked on the Rococo dress the where the waistline sat. I like how it was higher up, not lower, because like I don't know. I used to be so into fashion. I've always wanted to be a fashion designer, and like I own like a sewing machine myself, but I just lost the passion for it, and like this really made me want to like take it back out and like try again.
Oh, that's very
And
sweet.
wait, what type of machine do you use?
Well, I'm right now using my grandma's Singer from the 60s because they dug it out of her basement. But I have my mom's, I just use Singers. I can't remember what kind the old one is, but it's like a really old one.
Yeah, no, Singers are really good.
Hey, Chloe, you're being requested in the other room. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine, it's fine. Tori, do you have anything else, or?
Did you also use oh my god, what's that machine called? Did you like have to put it through the
Serger?
Like
you
a
know in my
serger?
school when we did the pants? The what?
A serger?
Yeah, a serger. Did you use a serger or no?
Well, I don't have a serger at home, so I just did like a zigzag stitch and tried to make like a fake serge on the ones
Yeah.
that needed to be serged, and then the ones that I didn't, I just gave up and didn't do anything. So it was like a cool combo of like kind of serging and kind of not. So I kind of made do with what I had. So Shelby?
Okay, first, I want to say that your dad chilling in the background of your mom's video is just, it's so weird and I love it.
Oh my god. Love him.
If you were to redo any of these pieces, which one would you do and what would you change about it?
So, I mean, overall, I was personally very, very proud of all of my pieces. They're all my babies, and I love them. I think that I would have done the first piece that I did again. Hi, Mom. Then the first piece that I did again, because there was like some technical issues. I sewed something inside out and then couldn't seam rip it because I had to use a certain stitch that was so fine that it would have torn the fabric apart. It was just a whole shebang.
No.
So I decided to leave it as it was and kind of work with it, and that was really cool because I kind of let myself chill and didn't panic over it, but it was also something that I wish I could have fixed, and that looking back on it, I really wished I could have. So that would probably be the thing that I would change if I could. But even that, you know, it's obviously I wish I would have. Everybody wishes they would have had more time, more resources. Everything could go perfectly. I didn't break my zipper foot. I didn't break a needle in my face. If none of that had happened, that would be great. But you know, it's life. Gotta be chill. Quarantine Annabelle's chill. So, all right, Emerson, you're muted.
Emerson, you're muted.
I know, I noticed it. My screen gave me the warning. Your parents look so distressed being on the big screen, by the way.
I know they're on a big screen.
They do. I saw them talking about it.
We all see it. Did you pin their video, Stern?
Nope, I did not pin their video. I
That's
used the
okay.
gallery view.
Okay.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Well, they're there. I can hear them laughing from.
I can see them.
So the I know all the different styles you chose. I think it's really cool that you chose Rococo because I love that fashion. I love it so much, that period. It's just so cute, and that dress was so darling and so lovely.
Thank you.
And seeing you throughout our Friday meeting, slowly seeing the outfits come together, because occasionally we got to see them on the model, like the whatever those things are made out of, those fake.
Back there waiting. She's wearing my graduation gown because I don't know where to put it.
She's gonna be a substitute. I like how she has a gender too. That just shows how long you spent with her.
Exactly.
Did you prick yourself a lot too? And how did you decide which periods were you gonna do? Because I feel like there's definitely a lot more than that, but you chose those ones.
Yeah, I correct myself so much. It was not even funny. I actually, while listening to other people's Odysseys, I've been kind of like looking around, seeing needles in my carpet, and I didn't even do this project up here. They just end up places. My kitchen floor might be permanently covered with needles. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. But it's a lot of little sharp things. But now I have like asbestos fingers, and it doesn't hurt me anymore. So that's really fun. When I looked through those art periods that I really, really liked, I mainly chose art history periods that I felt like I connected with as a person. So anything that made me feel like I had a personal connection to the art, or anything that made me feel like I would have been an artist from that period. You know, like there are some like German expressionism is one of the ones that I was just like, I don't feel a connection with this. I don't vibe with it. Really not my kind of style. So I obviously didn't choose that one. But like any art one that had like an artist I was a fan of, a vibe I was vibing with, something cool, or just the fact that I liked Fragonard's The Swing so much I could not do Rococo. It was just like a fun little vibe kind of picture that.
Okay, I'm gonna have to step in because we're at 2:59 and we have the next people waiting to come into the room. Sorry, Joy, you can hate me. We will start at 3:02. That gives everyone the 3-minute break. If you're supposed to be back in the other room, you may head there. David, are you with us?
I'm here.
Is Perry M a guest of yours?
Yes.